Hello, I'm Evan Brand, board certified holistic nutritionist, certified functional medicine practitioner, and nutritional therapy practitioner. I'm doing a Q&A today. I asked my email list about a month ago, what questions do you have? I offer 15-minute free calls where I answer tons of questions, but a lot of times those questions overlap or they're very repetitive. So I figured, let me just send something to my email list. I got over 600 responses, which took me a very long time to actually go through and take away the ones that were too long because that would bore you, and compile all the ones that were either a common question or what I thought was a very good question. So let's dive right in. So first question here, Judy. How long did you battle with IBS symptoms and depression? So for me, it was as long as I could remember. I'd been to many doctors throughout my life in teenage years trying to get an answer of why I had IBS, what was going on, how do I fix it. So let's just say many years. And it wasn't until I did my own research and fixed myself that I was able to actually cure my IBS and depression. Now, are there bad days? Of course. But depression is more characterized by removing yourself from society or just feeling completely isolated, sleeping more than you should. That type of depression, sometimes you do need serious help. A functional medicine practitioner on board can help a lot because for me, it was my gut that was the source of the issue, which makes sense because 95% or more of your serotonin is produced from the intestines. Number 2, Daniel. Functional medicine is extremely expensive. If you've had severe chronic health issues your entire life, you really can't spend money, and you have to spend your money very carefully. For someone who's already done cortisol testing and a SIBO test, what's the next test to do? Bang for your buck test. Is it a stool test? Is it an organic acid? Of course, this depends on the individual. And then it goes on and on. Best bang for your buck test, 2 of those. One is a GI map, which is a comprehensive stool panel that looks for parasites, bacterial infections. It looks at calprotectin, which is a marker for intestinal inflammation. Second test is going to be organic acids, which is a urine test. If you look at some of my previous videos, you'll see me review one of those, but it shows about 75 different things, including mitochondrial issues, bacterial overgrowth, and candida problems, which is something I see on a daily basis. Emma says, I've listened to some of your podcasts and watched some of your videos. I'm interested in any info on parasites. My 5-year-old son had a stool test and came back with blastocystis hominis. My question is, how can I treat my child's parasite problem? Could you treat it yourself? Possibly. Would I say you should treat it yourself? No. I would get a functional medicine practitioner on board that can help you with blasto. Conventional doctors are going to say that you can't treat it successfully with herbs. That's completely false. I've treated hundreds of cases successfully of blasto using herbs, and you just have to typically reduce the dosage if it's a 5-year-old. Lynn, I see from your email that you had parasites. I've never been checked for them. Reading the book An Epidemic of Absence, I'm not sure if having parasites is a good or bad thing. Do you know, are there good and bad parasites, or is it a matter of balance? So yeah, there is the idea out there that a gut that's too clean, that doesn't have bacteria, doesn't have parasites, is a bad thing because we've evolved alongside these various creatures. However, my take on that is we're not hunter-gatherers anymore, and we live in an incredibly stressful world. We're surrounded by electromagnetic pollution, like right now. I'm actually using a hardwired connection, so I'm not using Wi-Fi, and typically I'm using this mouse here, which is USB, so I can keep my hands off this keyboard. But we live in a world that's incredibly more stressful and toxic than our ancestors faced. So for us, our stress bucket is already so full that we really can't handle something else like a parasite or a bacterial infection that puts us over the edge. So for me, I like a clean gut, and I like the good bacteria to be there, and the microbiome is the foundation of health. That's a great question. Anon, I'm a Dr. Sear certified health coach who's interested in earning certifications like yours. Can you tell me about what steps I should take to go about this, and how many years would it take to accomplish? So it's about 4 years for all the various programs that I've gone through, the various schools. Some of them are distance learning where you have to go to an actual location. Some of them are online. So we would say 3 to 4 years for all the credentials that I've built up. And what was the other question? What steps should I go about this? You have to figure out what you want to do. Do you want to work with people one-on-one? Do you want to do group coaching? Do you want to do lab testing and get into the functional medicine piece, or are you just interested in nutrition? You got to figure out what you actually want to do first. And I do coach hundreds of people per year in terms of business coaching, whether it's healthcare practitioners, naturopaths, functional medicine, nutritionists, and I help people figure out exactly what they want to do and then help them to build that practice. So you can go to my website and you can find more info about my mentorship. Cheryl, I listened to much of your podcast. I learned a lot about EMFs and how bad they are. What can be done to lessen the impact in your home when there's no way you can move? I don't want to find out what I'm being exposed to if there's no way to change it or it's too expensive. I take normal precautions. I don't use my phone to my ear, and I turn off Wi-Fi when not in use. Thanks for your time. Cheryl, it's a great question. If you can't move, then you do have to measure, because my philosophy is if you don't test, you've guessed. So you do need to either do it yourself. You can look into getting a 10 Mars unit, which I can link below, or getting an EMF consultant, like a building biologist. Get them to come to your house and inspect it and figure out what's actually going on. I've heard of some people turning off their circuit breakers to their bedrooms at night. I personally don't do that. I've measured my house at such a low baseline level of magnetic fields that I'm not concerned about it. You also want to look into dirty electricity, and I would refer you to the podcast I did with Dr. Samuel Milham on dirty electricity. It's another good episode to kind of get you up to speed. Kate, she's got a long story here. I appreciate the opportunity. I'm from Australia. We don't have too many functional medicine doctors. I suffer from IBS, recently diagnosed SIBO. My cortisol is flatlined. I have fibromyalgia, constantly exhausted, low energy, anxiety, dizzy, aches and pains, stomach issues. I've tried everything. My question is, what is more important? Healing my gut first, then my adrenals? I don't know if I could get better with the way my gut is. Should I be supplementing for my adrenals? What is something that won't tax me? Something good that won't tax me. Good question, Kate. It depends on the person. So depending on symptoms, depending on sleep, depending on stress, depending on what you've already done, you say you've tried everything, we'd have to figure out what everything means. We may have to do some liver detox stuff first because you may be too sensitive to all the other supplements. So we may have to do a liver protocol. Then we may have to look and support adrenals if you're flatline. Get those on board, get your adrenals working better, get that whole HPA brain axis working, and then we move into the gut. Then we have to take care of infections when you're strong enough to handle it. Once infections are removed, then we replace, re-inoculate the gut, get your gut back to health. Then we seal up the leaky gut situation that we can almost guarantee that you have, and then we continue to work on adrenals, detox, etc. Hopefully that helps. You could schedule a 15-minute free call with me if you want to chat about it. Let's see here. Delcy, I've been sick for the past 3 years. Lyme, Bartonella, H. pylori, black mold 4 times. Oh, goodness. And mono, always 2 or 3 together. The antibiotics have destroyed my gut bacteria, and I've started a regimen to restore the balance. I'm exhausted. How do I know if this is the result of the last 3 years of diseases and meds or adrenal fatigue? What do I do to restore normalcy? That's a good question. So yeah, your adrenals are probably compromised for sure. At least that signaling is messed up. You probably would show up with a low free cortisol. Whether it's the Lyme or the H. pylori still affecting you, well, you have to retest and figure out, is the H. pylori gone? If you've done triple therapy, which is a conventional approach to H. pylori, it doesn't work very well. The success rate's terrible. So I would suspect you probably still have H. pylori. Now, if you've gone the herbal route of treating H. pylori, maybe it's gone, and we may say that it's just the adrenal issues or potentially some type of long-term co-infection with Lyme that's affecting you. So you got to test, don't guess. All right, Margaret, I'm always a little tired and a little fatigued. I live and eat healthy, in quotations, I think, but I wake up around 3:30 in the morning and I feel in alert mode. Earlier, I was stressed, but I've worked hard to overcome this. Taking adaptogens, healthy diet, going to bed at 10. Could this be hormonal imbalances? I think I have an excess of estrogen. I'm a 57-year-old female who has low ferritin. I've recently stopped heavy bleeding. All right, so if you're waking up at 3:30 at night, sometimes we jump to these conclusions. My heart's racing, I'm dying, let's go to the emergency room. In most cases, there's nothing wrong with your heart. It could be something as simple as a blood sugar problem. So figure out when you're eating, figure out if that bedtime, let's say if you eat at 6, bedtime's at 10, that's 4 hours, and you're waking up at 3, that's another 5 hours. That's a long time in between meals. If you've got a lot of stress, blood sugar could be crashing. You've got something called reactive hypoglycemia. If blood sugar drops too quick, your body doesn't want you to pass out. So you're going to get that shot of cortisol, and that blood sugar is going to crank back up, therefore releasing adrenaline, which is going to get you very, very alert to run from a bear, even though there's no bear. So check out your blood sugar. Eat a snack if you have to before you go to bed, some type of good fat, good protein, almond butter, coconut oil. Just a little spoonful could be enough to kind of top off the reserves there. And then also, you definitely want to get your cortisol rhythm checked, because if you have a spike of cortisol in the evening, which could be due to infections, but also could be due to artificial light at night, and that could wake you up. 3:30 at night, I've seen a correlation between parasite infections too, waking people up. It seems that they are more active, the bugs are more active at night. So definitely want to rule that in or rule that out. Jackie, hi Evan, thanks for the introduction. Pleased to meet you. I got cervical cancer and was cured by surgery only. I've suffered for the last 7.5 years chronic pain resulting in years of prescription meds. I've got fatty liver, hyperthyroid. What test do I start with? Hormones, leaky gut, adrenals, something else? I thought I'd start you with a challenge. Yes, great question. So regardless of the symptoms, regardless of the case, whether it's cancer, Lyme, autism, etc., I'm always going to look at the 3-body system approach for people. So that's going to be adrenals, that's going to be gut, and detox. So that's a adrenal saliva test, that's a comprehensive stool panel, and a urine sample. There's other stuff outside of that, but those are the 3 foundations for you and anyone that's really looking to get into the functional medicine approach. Why? Well, it's because if you find these issues, you find adrenal problems, you find detox methylation issues, you find infections, you got to get those taken care of. And magically, symptoms across the board can disappear. All right, next here, Karen. I suffer from chronic migraines, insomnia, and food sensitivities. I believe they all started from contracting blastocystis hominis 8 years ago. I've done parasite cleanses, but they've not made a difference. I can't do the antibiotics because they trigger migraines. I don't blame you. Wondering if you have experience with this specific parasite. Yes, as mentioned, I've successfully eradicated hundreds of blastoparasites in people. And once again, herbs can do it. So, Karen, get tested. See if you still got blasto. It's possible you still have that infection. If you've done parasite cleanses before and they didn't work, it's probably because they were just like a generic parasite supplement. I've got specific protocols that I've created over the past few years that really are dialed in for this parasite, that parasite, this bug plus this bug. So you really want to get more specific in terms of treatment options. Jenica, I have a problem with my thyroid. Went to the doctor because of stomach pains. Blood samples show my thyroid values were low. I'm now eating a medicine called Levaxin. Yes, so hypothyroidism, very, very common. 90+% of the cases are actually Hashimoto's, which is autoimmune thyroid. So definitely want to get your TPO and TG antibodies run. Make sure you don't have Hashimoto's. If you do, then you're going to want to go on an AIP diet and really help to start reducing some of those antibodies, and then also get further testing to figure out why your thyroid's low. Most of the time there's going to be an adrenal connection to that. My goal, you're probably like, man, why is this guy drinking so much water? Well, one, I just woke up recently, and 2, I try to drink a lot of water in the mornings. All right. Eve, I listened to a recent podcast. Love what you do. Do you have any experience with mold and genetics that hamper detox? I've been sick for 18 years. I want to recover my vitality. Well-versed in functional medicine, anti-inflammatory diet. I can't get off dark chocolate and kombucha and a few other sugars. I'm sure gut infections are raging. So a couple things going on here. If you're sure the gut infections are raging, get tested, figure that out. Do I have experience with mold? Yes, I do. Not personal experience. I've never been affected by mold, thank goodness. But yes, all the time I see mold infections with people that are on the organic acids. Their levels are just off the charts, and we do have to factor that into protocols. So there is hope. Gallia, I suspect I have copper deficiency because I have too much white hair and I'm 41 years old. I have leaky gut, adrenal fatigue, and take zinc supplements. How do you know for sure? Should I supplement with copper? Well, you got to get tested. So you can get a blood test for that, look at copper levels, and that's going to be the best way. Because some people, they assume one thing, but they're actually the opposite. They take zinc, which then messes up that zinc to copper ratio, and then you feel worse. So got to get tested. Get a blood test for that. That would be called just serum copper. Rachel, my little girl's kicking on my door. My 2-year-old has eczema and diarrhea, loose stools, and has for a year. I'm pretty certain he has parasites according to a blood drop analysis. Any tips on eczema and diarrhea, how they're related, how to solve this? Many thanks from a tired and burned out researching mom. Rachel, I understand completely. Yes, a 2-year-old could absolutely have parasites. I just looked at a 4-year-old little girl's stool test yesterday. She has 2 parasites, and she's got bacterial infections, and she's got a fungal infection, and she has candida. So yes, it's possible that a 2-year-old could have those problems. And how you do it, you have to just go really low and slow with the dosing of getting them better if you're using any herbs, and you'd have to ask a professional for that. Jackie, my question is around bloat. Even if I eat paleo, I feel and look bloated. Am I constipated? Is this the result? Is it SIBO? If you feel and look bloated and you eat paleo, it's possible you have a candida problem. Why do I say that? Well, I see it about 9 out of every 10 labs that I look at. Someone has a candida problem. If you've ever done antibiotics, you can almost guarantee you've got some level of yeast that's overgrown in the gut. And kombucha, which people love, but kombucha can potentially feed candida problems if you're doing it too much. So who was that? That was Jackie. Jackie, I would say get an organic acids panel, figure out if you've actually got bacterial overgrowth and candida problems. Carol, I just listened to your Functional Medicine 101 broadcast, thought the information was great. I have a question. Do you offer any training on how to interpret organic acids test? If not, would you consider putting something together? This is a great question. I'm a fellow nutritionist who studies functional medicine, would love to incorporate organic acids into my practice, but I need to learn more about the extent of information I can get from it and how to interpret the results. That is a great question. Yes, I've actually debated that, so I need your advice. Comment below. I've debated doing an organic acid specific training course, a comprehensive stool panel system test or system analysis, and then also looking into adrenal. So I've got 1, 2, 3. If you think that just one would be cool, okay, let me know. But what I'm thinking is possibly doing all 3 and just teaching the 3-body system approach and kind of my unique spin on that. And then also there's a business component to it too. So should the business component be an add-on? Should it be included with the program? Let me know your thoughts below, because it's always a constant battle, and I've done many programs out there, and there's stuff that I like and stuff I don't like about all of them. So I would like to make a good hybrid of all the information out there. Thanks, Carol. Barbara, my question is simple. I'm an RN with a passion for holistic health. My goal is to run a telemedicine practice. Okay. I'm currently in school. I'm also enrolled in FDN. I'm a bit overwhelmed. What would it take for you to mentor me? Help me get my holistic practice off the ground. I reside in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Barbara, good question. As I mentioned, I do business coaching for people. I mentor people around the world. So you being in Oklahoma doesn't change anything. I'd be happy to help. You can just click on screen and you can schedule that 15-minute free call. Let's chat about your goals and where you want to go. There's a lot of different avenues, and it's a fun place to be. This is the greatest time in my life helping people, because I'm usually the last stop. Most of the time they've been 10, 15, 20 practitioners before they get to me, but yet they've never had some of these foundational test runs. So it's just a blessing and an honor. Well, that's 23 questions there. I had about 600, but I had to really narrow it down. I hope you enjoyed. If you're interested in another Q&A, just put your questions below. We'll add it to this note here, and we'll revisit this in a future video. This is Evan Brand signing out, and take care. Bye-bye.